Zimmerman said he was going back to his SUV when he was attacked, not the 17-year-old.
All right, that was Shannon Butler reporting. Bill Anderson from WRD joining us now. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Carrie, how are you?
I'm doing really well. Everybody's talking about what Geraldo Rivera said. We mentioned it before the story we just showed you. So before we talk at all, let's take a listen to him.
Okay.
I am urging the parents of Black and Latino youngsters particularly to not let their children go out wearing hoodies. I think the hoodie is as much responsible for Trayvon Martin's death as George Zimmerman was.
The hoodie is responsible for his death. Let's remember, the shooter was also wearing a hoodie as well. But this, to me, seems like blaming a girl who was raped because she was wearing a short skirt. Why is that happening in this case? It's
ridiculous, and I thought I had heard everything, but now how somebody is dressed is justification for murder. Geraldo is reaching, and this is nonsense. The young man allegedly was minding his business. He did not confront anyone. It was a chilly night. People all across the country, millions of them, Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, wear hooded sweatshirts. To imply that you can't wear those for fear of being murdered is ridiculous.
Let's move to the race issue, Bill. Last time you were here, we had a lot of people tweeting that we were race baiting. Now, President Barack Obama had initially said he wasn't going to get involved in this thing. Now he says this is regarding the racial aspect of the case. Take a listen to what he said.
Okay. But my main message is to the parents of Trayvon Martin. You know, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon.
It's getting a lot of attention today, Bill. Is he perpetuating the racial issue here, showing the divide rather than focusing on the fact that this was an unarmed kid, a kid that only had some Skittles in his pocket?
Well, I think that what he said is true. I mean, ultimately, President Obama, in my opinion, is just trying to show some compassion. And what people will remember is about 3 weeks ago in the Sandra Fluke case, when she was called a slut on a national radio show, President Obama came out and said, when I heard that comment, I saw my daughter. I thought of my daughter, and I thought I needed to step up. He's saying the same thing in this case. And I think he's also trying to hammer home the message that people are looking, like we just heard from Geraldo, people are looking at this young man as a criminal, as a thug, because of his clothes or because of George Zimmerman's statements. He's saying this also could be a young man who was the son of the president, a young man who was reputable, who was, going on to college and not into crime. So I just think the president was trying to show compassion, but also trying to get people to look at him as a human rather than just a hooded sweatshirt.
Let me ask you this, and we heard in the story that we showed before you got here that there is very little information about what happened between that initial 911 call and Trayvon Martin's death. Do you think police have a valid reason for not making this arrest yet?
I hope, Carrie. I mean, everything that I've seen, I don't think that there's a valid reason. Even in the new testimony that they're talking about that there may have been a confrontation and Trayvon Martin may have been involved in the fight. I want people to put into context that George Zimmerman was not a police officer, did not have a badge, did not have a uniform, and based on all we know, was following a young man who didn't know him in the dark. Now, I'm not sure how many of us, if somebody you didn't know followed you, approached you, and came up to you, wouldn't defend yourself if it became a confrontation. I still think that there is enough going on that this man needs to be arrested, and if it turns out that there's evidence to clear his name, then let the jury decide that, but he shouldn't be walking free.
In our final seconds, I know you spoke about this on your radio program, and I know people have a lot of opinions on both sides. What are you hearing mostly from people?
Well, I think that this may have, we talked about the race issue in this. I think it may have started as a race issue. Now I think it transcends race. I think that quality people, concerned people of all races, want to make sure that their children are safe. They're also questioning these laws and whether or not they give a free pass to people to so-called defend themselves, but ultimately commit murder with no consequences. So now I think it's more about concerned people wanting justice than it is the race factor, and that's ultimately what we're hearing.
All right, thanks a lot, Bill. Some very insightful stuff there. Appreciate that.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see ya. And of course, you can hear President Obama's full statement about Trayvon Martin online. We've posted it for you at our website, myvoxphilly.com.
The stakes get higher and higher with each contest in the race for the Republican presidential nomination. Louisiana is the next big test. And as Fox's Craig Boswell shows us, the candidate